How's it going, everybody? My name's Avid, and today we are going to build a flight course complete with rings that players need to fly through, a timing system that's going to tell us how fast players completed the course, and of course a reward system based on how fast the course is completed. And in what better place to build this flight course than the beautiful destroyed city of Cloud's Rest? I'm so excited. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to work on here is what I think is the most important part of any flight course, the gates. And for those of you who have tried to build a flight course in survival, you've probably used tripwire hooks, which, in my opinion, are awful. They're just so slow, and they actually miss players when they fly through them. Look, I'll show you. There's our little gate down there. I am currently inside of our giant moon that we built of many episodes ago, and I'm gonna try to get that tripwire hook to trigger. So let's fly through this with a little bit of speed, and it missed. You see? That's so frustrating. Why are tripwire hooks so bad? Like, the only way that's gonna get me is if I go slowly through it. And if people are trying to compete for the fastest time, that's not gonna cut it. So we need to come up with a command block solution that's going to catch players 100% of the time. Let's figure out how we're gonna do that. All right, so after a little bit of tinkering, here is my first attempt at a reliable command-based gate. It's really simple. I basically have this repeating command block that executes positioned at this lower left-hand corner here. And then it's going to execute if any player is within the bounds of 3 on the X and 3 on the Y. So 3 on the X this way and 3 on the Y that way. So it's essentially looking for if any player enters the ring. Pretty straightforward. And then I have a comparator here that's going to output from that, and then we're going to have a message that says command gate. And so, as you notice, I probably just flew through or flew a little close to that, and you can see it's pretty reliable, actually. So the question, though, is it reliable at speed? Because that's what's really important to us. Let's figure it out. All right, and test number 2 of our command-based gate system. Let's see if it actually works. I'm going to get some speed, fly through, and it didn't get us. Well, there goes plan A. All right, time for version 2 of my command block based detection system. So I've taken that tell raw command that we had here that was attached to the comparator, and I compacted it inside of my repeating command block. So that means that everything is going to run in one tick right here in a single command. And for some of you, that might be obvious. Why didn't you just do that in the first place? Well, the problem with compacting it all into the repeating command block is now you have to deal with the fact that it could fire 2, 3, 10 times. And so the nice part about using a comparator is if this repeating command block fires 3 times, it's only going to run that tell raw signal 1 time. So there is an advantage to it, but now we're just going to have to deal with the fact that the repeating command block could fire a couple extra times. We'll figure that out. But I have found it's a little more reliable, and I'll show you that test in a second. But before I do, the reason that we weren't getting that tell raw command is actually pretty simple. So if you have something that is detected in one tick, but then is no longer valid in the next tick, that comparator output is not going to be high, and you're not going to get a signal out. So the way that I am showing you this here is this repeating command block is checking, always active, to see if the block next to it is white concrete. Pretty straightforward. And then this chain command block is setting that block to black concrete if this command fired successfully. And so that all happens within about 1 game tick, and you see how quickly it turns it over. And also, you probably noticed that comparator is never turning on. So that was exactly the problem that we had up there, and we're going to have to deal with the fact that we have to do everything in 1 tick or as quickly as possible. All right, here is version 3 of the gate, and it operates on the exact same principles that I just showed you guys. We have a repeating command block here that only executes if the block below it is glowstone. Then we have a conditional command block here, a chain block, that will set the block 2 blocks beneath it to obsidian. So this gets turned into obsidian, which means then this repeating command block is only going to run 1 time. Pretty neat, right? And then we play a sound, a bell, just because I love giving that kind of feedback. So what's really cool about this is that solves the problem of the repeat command block potentially firing multiple times, because now the gate can only be flipped. It can be toggled by changing that one block from glowstone to obsidian. So pretty easy way to get that mechanic working. But of course, the only way to test this thing is to throw myself at maximum velocity, hopefully getting through the center of this. And we watch as a single command gate Telra is executed. All right, I think this thing's gonna work. We need to pretty it up, obviously. We need to make it a part of the course, but that is the basic gate design there. All right, so now that we have our gates in working order, not necessarily looking amazing, but they work great, let's talk about the timing system. So I have here a couple of commands, really simple stuff to make a timer move upwards every single game tick by one in the right-hand side of my screen there. So let's take a quick look at those commands. They are super simple. So we have an impulse command block here that is going to add a display timer objective to the dummy character. Then we set the display to the sidebar, so that's what makes it show up on the right-hand side of the screen. And then finally, we have a repeat command block that is always adding one value to that timer every game tick. That's all it takes. Simple. This was supposed to be simple. Why is it whenever I go and try to build something, it's not simple? Or it gets, well, it gets off the rails. But I wanted to make some improvements. First off, I wanted the counter to count up in seconds, not in game ticks, so that you have that nice realistic seconds counter on the right-hand side. I wanted to power these repeat command blocks with redstone, so I incorporated the redstone into the gate itself, which then means these aren't running all the time, so it's really efficient. I also wanted to be able to track how many gates have been passed through, so that way then we can check to see when the course is completed. Watch for 2 gates. Then I wanted to create different awards, so if you finish it within 3 seconds, that's really fast. You get the gold. 4 to 10 for silver. Bronze is 11 to 15. And if you're over 15 seconds, you get to try again. And you get this message that also says how quickly you completed the course. So let's just take a quick look at getting the gold. So I run through, I complete it in 2 seconds. I get a message that says gold, and it also says I completed the course in 2 seconds. So there's actually a lot of Telra magic happening here to make sure that it says my name, and then it says how quickly I completed the course, which is pretty sweet. Then, of course, the course is going to clean up after itself, remove all of those timers, all those scoreboards, and the whole thing is going to be reset. So let's get back to Cloud's Rest with this whole thing up and running and start making this flight course. Oh, and before I forget, I included the entire structure block download of this race course in the description of this video. So go ahead and download that, and then I'm going to show you guys how to get that into your worlds. And once you have that file downloaded, you're going to then place it into the folder that I'm going to show here on the screen. And then you're going to get a structure block here, and you're going to enter in the name Flight Course Controls and click the load button. Then we see here an outline of what's going to be loaded, and then we just click load a second time, and here it is. There is our flight course from our creative world. So let's start playing around with this thing. First things first, we need to come up with some kind of way to start the flight course. So I made another structure here that kind of matches this Roman architecture of the other guys, and we're going to have an NPC here. He's going to be standing right here. I'll just pretend to be him for a second. And when players approach the NPC, he's going to detect if they've beaten the Cloud's Rest quest or not. And if they have, then he's going to say, step on that pressure plate to start the flight course, or something like that. And the pressure plate's going to be like right here. So players can get a running start. They shoot off with their Elytra. The second they hit that pressure plate, the counter starts, the timer starts, everything starts working, and then the flight course is going to be throughout this entire area. We might even fly like through the balloon or through one of these statues or something. We'll figure it out. So now I want to just create the gates and start filling in some of the pieces. All right, so I think I've come up with an interesting, I'm not going to say clever, but interesting way to trace out my path as I fly through the air. So that way, all I have to do is fly in roughly where I think the flight course is going to be, and then glowstone is going to follow me as I fly, and so that way then I kind of know where the gates are going to go, and the course is nice and natural and flowy. So the way that works is we have an etho clock here, and every time the clock ticks over, this command block is going to be run. And if I have the tag flight guy, then there is going to be a glowstone block placed 2 blocks beneath my feet. So all I have to do is get rid of this, and I don't have the tag on yet, but once I step on that pressure plate, then I think I am ready to go. So let's fly. So I want players to fly straight out this way, and then I want them to go underneath the area here, swing around the main entrance and through these two clouds. And you can see the glowstone is actually already placing, so that's working perfectly. We're gonna come up and then fly down through here, up and around the backside of this. And then I wanna kind of scrape this, swing around the balloon. And then the very last one is gonna go right there. And with all of our glowstone bits tracing out our trail, it's time to start putting the gates into action. And I have come up with version 4? 5? 4? Let me know down in the comments. I don't remember what version number this gate is, but I am so happy with how it's looking. So this is a total aesthetic redesign. If you remember, we had all of the commands up above it. That looked really gross. So I found a way to tuck them nice and clean beneath the gate here. And then I'm gonna show you, I added a little something extra just as the gate is turned on. So this is only going to be for active gates. So that way, you know exactly which gate you have to fly through. And once you fly through it, then the gate turns off and the next one is gonna have that glowing effect. So this is gonna make it really clear, even if we have gates all over the place, which gate is the next one to fly through. So let's get a couple more of those gates in and then start to work out how we compact all of that underneath our little house right here. And I didn't just get a couple more gates in, I got all of the gates in. So I think now we're ready to hook up the remainder of the flight course, and I think this course is turning out great. It's tough. There are definitely a couple spots here where it's gonna get really tight, but I can't wait to try the whole thing out. There are 19 gates in total, so we're definitely, I didn't realize how many I was gonna put in, but it just works out that way and it has a nice smooth feel to it. So next order of business is to move all of this logic down to the starting area and try to compact it a little bit more in that room. So yeah, let's give it a shot and see how it goes. And we managed just that. So all of that junk has been moved into this control room just beneath our starting pavilion. And all I had to do was turn everything horizontally. So it really wasn't that difficult, but definitely needed to kind of squish things in here. You'll probably also notice this little monster. Yeah, so I needed a way to reset all of the gates, every single one of them. So there's 19 individual commands to turn that redstone block back into an obsidian block, because I have this kind of a bug, or I had a bug, where when you start it and you go through one or two of them, like that, right, then you failed, it wouldn't reset that one over there. So what would happen is then you would start again and you'd have that one glowing and that one glowing, and actually both would be valid. So then people could cheat, and we don't want that. So I also added a reset button to allow people to just start over really quickly. Now, before we go through the rest of the flight course, I just want to do one more thing, which is to add a guy who can sell tickets to this flight course. So you're going to give him a special item, and you're going to be allowed to go on the flight course one time through that item. And even if you complete the flight course with the slowest possible time, you'll get that item back. So it's not like we're punishing the players, but it's just another way to add a little bit of immersion, because it's kind of like a little mini game. So I want to implement just a really quick item detector and a little gentleman that stands here and introduces the flight course. So let's do that really quickly, and then we're gonna fly this baby. So I hope you guys are ready, because I am super excited to try it out. So the item used to obtain access to the flight course is this enchanted special feather that you get when you beat the boss at the end of the Cloud's Rest dungeon. His name is Belial. So naturally you get his feather because he's kind of this winged feathered beast. And the way that we're going to do the item detection is so much simpler than you can normally do with regular redstone. It requires a single command block down there and a pressure plate that can be activated by an item. And so all you do is you have the kill command, you set it to a distance of 2 and an item type right here, and then you set it to exactly the NBT, and this is a giant command, but basically the exact NBT of the item that I'm holding. And so when I throw the item right there, it's going to delete that item. So that's kind of it being accepted by the gentleman who is trading for access to the course. So then what we'll do is we'll have a conditional chain command block right off of this that will then allow the course to be turned on. So that's all it takes. Is it's just going to be 2 command blocks to get that whole item filtration thing working. So let's do that really quick, get our buddy in, pay for our flight, and take off. Let's do it. All right, guys, I hope you're excited because it's time to do this flight course. Here is our beautiful pavilion all finished up. We have a couple of rules here on the left and right-hand side. Feel free to read them in your own time. Pause the video. Here's our buddy Fjorn. Hi, Fjorn. How are you doing? Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to master this flight course. After all, I did build it, so I sure hope I can fly it. Yep, and then we're going to place the feather on this pressure plate here to prime the course. Here we go, guys. Not bad, guys. 43 seconds. Hey, I'll take it. It's not the top prize, which is 28 seconds. That's going to be really hard. But hey, we did a pretty good job. So anyways, I think we did an awesome job making this flight course together. I had so much fun doing it. I think tracing it out with glowstone was an awesome idea. I think the gates themselves really turned out perfectly. They're just so beautiful and they work so well. So I hope you guys can use some of the stuff that we worked on today. If you liked this video, please leave a like. And if you want to see more of this content in the future, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for sticking around. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.